Hello, and welcome back to Writing While Distracted. I'm Brenda Murphy, your NeuroSpicy writing coach. And today is the final podcast in my How to Write a Book series. And we're going to talk about the one thing that is a constant in every writer's life who is actively pursuing either representation by an agent or publication from an external publishing company. So stay tuned for our episode today. Oh, damn, it was rejected. So in our last episode, we talked about what to do when your manuscript gets accepted, which is amazing when that happens, and it's its own particular brand of stress and excitement. Today, we're going to talk about the more common thing, the times when your manuscript, your work, gets rejected. And that's the one we don't post about. Nobody really posts on Instagram or whatever your social media is of choice. Oh boy, I got rejected again today. And those emails that come from an agent or an editor or a publisher that say, no, thank you, often are not that helpful. Often it's just a no thank you without any explanation about why whatever piece you submitted to them wasn't for them. If you happen upon an editor or an agent that offers you some suggestions and advice, that's amazing. And I really appreciated the few times that I had editors that, when they were in the process of rejecting my work, also offered some very helpful feedback for me to improve my work and increase my chances of getting accepted. So that's an amazing thing when that happens. But most of the time, you just get a form letter or a thanks for playing, but we don't need what you have to offer. And that hurts, right? That stings. And if you are neurodivergent, it stings. And if you're neurodivergent, anyone dealing with any kind of mental health challenges, rejection can feel like someone just shattered you with a hammer. And a lot of that has to do with our rejection sensitivity dysphoria, where you read more into a simple no than there is, and you react to it in a way, you read more into a simple no, and you react to it in a way that is sometimes not equal in drama to what just occurred. However, I've talked about rejection sensitivity dysphoria in other podcasts, and I'll link those below and let you listen to that. I'm not going to rehash it again here, because today I want to talk about creative resilience. And that's something that I think that everyone who is a creator, writer, an artist, a painter, a potter, whatever it is that you do, you need to develop creative resilience. And whether you're disappointed in your own work or disappointed that someone didn't accept your work, that's what you can rely on to bring you back to the state of being creative again. And so many times I have faced rejection as an author, as a creator, where whatever it was I was presenting to be accepted wasn't accepted. And that's just part and parcel of being a writer. Your work isn't going to fit with everybody. And I've talked about this before. The first thing that you need to do when you receive those rejections is to acknowledge that it hurts, to feel your feelings. And even though rejections are not personal for the most part, I mean, you will have those people in your lives that just don't click with you. You would not have a good working relationship. And that's a good thing, because you don't want a difficult relationship around your creativity. Creating is hard enough without adding interpersonal problems to that. But when you see that response from an editor, an agent, or wherever you're querying your work, and you go to open that email, you can have a lot of things that happen. You can have, your stomach drops, your heart races, you may tremble, you may not even want to open the email. And when you finally open the email and it is a rejection, you may get teary, you may get angry, you may want to smash things or punch a wall. Please don't do that. It's not good for your hands. And please don't break things, because in the end, you've broken your own stuff, and the person who sent you that rejection really doesn't care. So, when you have those feelings, feeling your feelings is the first step in getting back to a even keel. Let yourself feel those feelings, but put a limiter on it. Make sure that you don't dash off an angry outburst on your social media or respond in an untoward way to the person who sent you the rejection. Because sometimes that rejection is not an outright rejection. It may just be a rejection of, it doesn't fit us right now. The nicest part about some rejections that I've gotten is that there's a line in the bottom is that we didn't want to publish this piece, but please send us your work in the future. And that's an encouraging thing because that means maybe it just didn't fit with this anthology, or maybe it just didn't work out for them at this time, or that they had a limited number of things that they were going to publish, and you just didn't make the cut this time. So not all rejections are outright rejections. And if you respond to a rejection in an angry way, particularly to an editor or an agent or a publishing house, wherever you've sent your work off to, responding to a rejection in an angry way is an absolutely number one way of making sure that you have pretty much destroyed your chances of working with those individuals, because they're going to see you as someone who's not able to take rejection. And even though we all hate it, rejection is very much a part of the creative process. So if you feel the urge to rant and rave and yell and scream, do it on your own time and don't do it in a public fashion. Please do not destroy your career before it's even started by acting out in public. And we have a very public, social media is just that. It's social, it's public. You don't have to think very hard to think of those people that have absolutely wrecked their career because of a ill thought out post or an angry rant. So don't do that to yourself. The thing that I want you to remember, the second thing that I really, really, really want you to remember is that publishing is a business. So whether you're working with an agent or you're working with a publisher directly, their job, their business, their means of survival is to sell books. The agent is going to try and sell your manuscript for the most money so they can get their percentage. A publisher wants to publish a book that is going to make back their investment, because don't forget, publishers are investing in you. They are paying for the copy editors. They are paying for the proofers. They are paying for the cover. They are putting a lot of money into your work before it goes anywhere, before you get any kind of remuneration for that book selling. So as a business, if you don't make good decisions and you have products that don't sell, and believe me, I know it's hard to think of your creative work as a product, but for a publisher, for an agent, it is a product, and they need to market you and they need to market your book in a way that earns them money so that they can continue to exist. This says nothing about the quality of your work. It has to do with whether or not your work fits into their business model, no matter what you're producing, whether it's art or music or books or poetry, any kind of creative thing that you're producing. If the person who wants to sell it doesn't think that they can make money off of it, they're going to reject it. And that is why you get no's. So, and anyone telling you a no, that they don't want to represent you or they don't want to publish you, is not saying that the writing is bad. And I'll give you a personal example. I write super spicy books. Some publishers won't touch a super spicy book because that's not what they're known for, and that's not what readers come to them looking for. So it wouldn't fit within their business model. It wouldn't fit with how they market themselves to readers. If they are known for producing ultra slow burn books or just slow burn books in general, they are not going to pick up one of my set the pages on fire, spicy kind of books. They're just not going to do that. And learning which publishers might be a better fit for whatever you're trying to have traditionally published is a big part of sending your work off if you are self-representing. Now, if you have an agent, same kind of thing. Agents like to represent works that they think they can sell, and they know publishers. They know what publishers are looking for, or at least the good ones do. And they want to represent works that they think they can sell to a publisher for a bigger audience. So that's their motivation with saying yes or no. It doesn't have to do with the quality of your writing. And remember, it's their judgment. And it's not good or bad writing, it's whether or not they can sell it. And that is what I really want you to take away from all this. It is not that you're a good writer or a bad writer that you cannot get published or picked up by an agent or find a publishing house willing to take a chance on you. Often, if you are a groundbreaking kind of person in that you're mashing up genres that no one has mashed up before. If you're writing cozy fantasy, and those people that started writing cozy fantasy, they really broke the mold. I mean, most fantasy was epic and sword and sorcery, and there's this big quest, not a cozy sort of fantasy that you can tuck into and enjoy in that way. And so it crossed over between people that liked cozy stories and people that liked fantasy and melded those two worlds. Someone reading that and thinking, oh my God, I don't even know if there's a market for that. Why should we publish that? They wouldn't touch it. I'm sure that people would not touch that to begin with. Once a market was proven and they're like, oh, cozy fantasies sell, people want that, then publishers start to pick up. So in a lot of ways, indie publishing, with its ability to mash up genres and test the market on seeing how things might sell or not sell, is leading the way. I often will publish something, self-publish something, if I am testing out how I want to write something, or if I'm testing out a genre that I'm not that experienced with, and I want to see how it works, and if I am able to blend genres that my publisher wouldn't necessarily be interested in publishing because they don't necessarily publish those kinds of stories. So it gives me, self-publishing is amazing that way. That is the best part about it. You're not dependent upon someone else seeing the business worth of whatever it is you're producing. I will also say that it also takes a lot of pressure off yourself if you remember that at the end of the day, the way things are now, there are many, many platforms that you can publish your work on that are not traditional, that don't involve agents, and allow you the freedom and flexibility to get your work out there without going through gatekeepers. And that is always the way I look at things now. If I submit something and it doesn't get accepted wherever I've submitted it, and I like it and I believe in it, I will then either try one other publisher, maybe, or a lot of times I just decide to self-publish it and I put it into that side of my business. I had a Christmas short story that I could not get accepted in any anthology that I sent it to. It just didn't click. And you know what? I just decided to publish that myself because I liked it. And it still is one of my most popular seasonal novellas. People liked it. It was different and it was sweet and it was fun and it hit notes that people were looking for at Christmas time. And it was different than what was already out there. Like a lot of stuff does not deal with established couples. And so that was my way of dealing with something that I really believed in, but just figured it just doesn't fit with anything anybody else was looking for. So don't take that no from an editor, from an agent, from a publishing house, from whoever that you've tried to sell your book to, because that's really what you're trying to do. You're trying to sell that bit of creativity or music or whatever it is that you're selling. If that doesn't work, you always have the option of doing it yourself. And that gives you so much freedom. And that should be something that you can latch onto and hold on to when that sense of disappointment and sorrow and anger, when those senses start to build up in you and you start to flail and you feel like I'm never going to get published and no one's ever going to read this and I'm never going to, when you get into that negative loop, I want you to stop. I want you to take a break. I want you to go for a walk. And if you can't go for a walk because of whatever reason, I want you to just sit quietly for a few minutes or go and do something that you really enjoy. Go go pet your animal if you have a dog or a cat or a bunny or whatever. Or if you have a trusted friend that you can call and talk to talk yourself down. It is really hard. We can all have those existential crises of why am I doing this? Why am I doing this stuff? Why am I giving myself homework? Why do I continue to sit down at this keyboard and miss time with family or friends or whatever? Why do I take all of my time to put into this creative work and no one's ever going to see it? And you can come to that place pretty easily. And I want you to step back from the cliff, step back from that, and remember rejection is part of the creative process. If you are going through gatekeepers, it's just how it works. If you are not going to do it yourself and you are depending on other people to buy your product, buy your book, be willing to publish your work or your creative, whatever creative thing you have, you're trying to get out there. If you're going to depend on that, you have to recognize that you're going to have to find a good way to deal with rejection because that is part of it. And you can't get away from it. It is always going to be there. So when I was talking about that short story, one of the things that you can learn you can learn things from rejections. So one of the things that you need to do with a rejection is to look at the fit, look at where you submitted, check what the publisher's current catalog is. And you should have ideally done that before you started submitting. Always look at their catalog. If you're going for an agent, always look at their website, always look for clues, look for people who they represent. What kind of books are they representing? And work that into whether or not you should submit to them. Always study if you're looking for an agent, study if they have a what I'm looking for page, study that. Compare your manuscript to their recent releases. Is this a fit? If it's not a good fit, then you understand why the rejection occurred. And that is going to help you understand, again, it's not personal, it's a business decision. So look at that. The biggest thing that you can do to help your creative resilience while all this is going on is to keep working. My number one survival tip for all creative people is always have another project underway while you're waiting to hear back from what other project is out. And why I say that is I know too many people that write a book, put it out on submission, and then sit there waiting to hear back. It can be months before you hear back. Some agents will flat out tell you, you're not going to hear from me for 90 days or 4 months or whatever time period. Some publishers will say, don't expect to hear from us for 8 weeks. Editors, same kind of thing. You are not going to get an instant turnaround. While you are waiting, instead of sitting there being anxious and worrying and stewing and fretting, get back to work. Either write the next book or work on something else that's a creative project that can keep your mind off it. But if you're a writer, and this is really geared towards writers, I'm going to tell you, get working on whatever else the next thing is. Write the next book, work on the next short story, work on the next group of poems, whatever it is you're writing, get back to work while you're waiting to hear. Because otherwise, this is what I have seen happen. People send off their book. They don't do stuff while the book's gone. They don't write. They sit, they fret, they get a rejection. It is that much harder to start the next book because they have a very negative emotion now associated with writing and submitting. And that is not a good way to conduct yourself. You will not get work done. You'll find yourself so blocked that every time you sit down to write, all you're going to be able to think about is that rejection. So I'm going to say, skip that part, get back to work. The second you send that submission off, celebrate because you sent something off and you got brave enough to send your work out into the world. That's amazing. Give yourself credit and celebrate that. And then get back to work, okay? Get back to work. Take a day off if you need to, take 2 days off, but get back to work. It is the one thing that is the underpinning of creative resilience. Because when you are creating, when are you writing? What is a writer? A writer writes, okay? A writer writes. You have to do it. It is the only way, the only way out is through. So learning to deal with rejection and becoming creatively resilient has a lot to do with getting back to work. So that is my number one piece of advice. If you haven't started it, it is going to be that much harder to do when you get a rejection. Now, say there were circumstances that prevented you from starting work right after you sent off your submission. In that case, I'm going to tell you to take that manuscript that was just rejected. Don't rework it in the heat of the moment. Okay? Put it aside. Unless you got a really good response from an editor or an agent that said, if you correct these things, please send it back to me, like a revise and resubmit. That is an amazing rejection because it's not really it's sort of a half rejection. Revise and resubmit, meaning please rework these things and send it back to me because I'm interested. That's amazing if you get that. If you don't get that, take that manuscript and put it aside. Don't go back and rework it while you're still in the throes of that rejection. Work on a new thing, work on a different thing, work on the next book. There are many people that the first book in a series didn't sell, but the second book sold because they had learned how to write better. There are many people whose first book in a series doesn't sell, but the second book sells. And then later they're able to bring that first book, what was the first book, back as a second book. Writing can be wacky like that as far as what gets accepted and what doesn't. But the bottom line is get back to work. Stop what-ifing. Stop stewing. Stop beating yourself up and thinking badly of yourself. Get back to work because the work is what is going to heal you. Being creative again is what is going to heal you. Putting words on paper, telling a story. You're a storyteller. You're a writer. Lean into that. Lean into being in your own world where you control the characters and you control what goes on. That's such a break from reality. It's so delightful to lean into your work and be there and let yourself be the creator that you are, the writer that you are. In the process of dealing with rejections, and I just talked about revise and resubmit, the most important part is to learn from the rejection and take from it what you can. And again, I'm going to touch on those. Was it a bad fit? Was it poor research on your part that you didn't find someone who would represent or be interested in what you are selling? Is it that you need to polish a few things? Maybe you need to get better at dialogue. Maybe you need to get better at setting. If you get a personalized response letter or a revise and resubmit, pay attention to what they've asked you to do. A revise and resubmit oftentimes will lead to representation. They want to see if you can fix the things that they found problems with. Now, if it's a fix that you don't want to do, for instance, if you have written a book that falls under the LGBTQI umbrella and they want you to turn it into a straight manuscript, you are absolutely within your rights to go, nope, that's not what this book is about. And any of those major things, if they don't want you as you are, your story as it is, if they are asking you to change everything about it, then that may not be a good fit for you. But if the changes they are asking you to make are things that you feel are reasonable, will fit within the story that you wanted to tell, and are acceptable to you, make those changes. They have taken the time to help you. Constructive criticism, helping you understand what it is that would make your work more marketable, if that is your goal. And if you are a creator that you want eyes on what you're creating, if you're a writer and you want people to read your book, making it marketable, making it something people want to pick up and read is the point, then pay attention to what they included in their letter. Now, here are some things not to do. Don't give up. Rejection is absolutely normal and very much a part of the publishing process. Most published authors have dozens, if not hundreds, of rejections. Okay? So that's normal. That's part of it. That's part and parcel. If you are looking for representation or being traditionally published, it's just how it goes. 2, do not air your grievances online. Back away from the keyboard, get off social media, take yourself away from that. Do not air your grievances for the world to see. Keep it private, maintain, do not destroy your future as a published person by appearing to be immature and difficult. And let's face it, getting online and ranting to whoever happens to read your feed is basically immature, because you know what? There's a good chance the person who rejected you may not see it, but one of their friends might see it and say, "Hey, did you see this?" Even if you think you're doing a good job thinly veiling things or hiding stuff about what it is you're complaining about, someone will figure it out. And you look very immature to complain about something that is really just part of the business. And if you're going to be part of that world, and if that's what you're trying to seek out, you need to accept that that's going to happen and find ways to deal with it that don't involve you ranting and losing your credibility as a reasonable individual in public. And number 3, don't try and please everyone. Don't sell out for representation or to be published. If you feel strongly that your manuscript should remain the way that it is, as far as subject matter, as far as who the people are that are in your book, don't give that up. There's no reason for you to do that. There are so many options these days for getting your work out in front of people that don't involve traditional gatekeepers and traditional publishing. So hold on to that. Hold on to who you are as a creative person, and know that trust your gut. Trust your gut around what the story should be. And understand that things like dialogue, learning to tighten up your dialogue or tighten up the pacing or make changes that don't infect the integrity of the story, are part and parcel of learning to work with a publisher and work with an editor and to make a book more readable and improve the reader's experience. And that's what editors do for you. And I have a podcast on how to play nice with others and how to work with editors and beta readers. And I'll link that in the description. But the thing that you don't want to do is give up the essence of your book in order to be published. Don't do that. You don't have to. And that is a very important thing for you to hang on to and know about. Finally, remember, you are the steward of your own creative process and the master of your own creative life. Develop this creative resilience, because no one else, editors, agents, publishers, they're business partners, but they are not in control of you or your creative process, nor should they ever be. If they want to work with you, they want to work with you as a creative person. And that's the bottom line. You are in control of yourself. You are in control of your work, and you should retain control of your creative products, be it a book, music, art, whatever. You are in control of that. As a writer, you should maintain control of your creative process. Now, a word about agents, because there are many people that seek representation, and that's a reasonable thing to do as a writer. If that's what your goal is, when you work with an agent, remember always, agents work on commission. And if they don't think they can sell your book to a publisher, they're not going to sign you. They're not going to represent you, because that's their business. It is not a referendum on your value or worth as a person or a writer. This is especially true if you are writing under the LGBTQI umbrella, or if you're writing genre mashups or niche fiction. Big houses, big publishing houses, which is where they're going to try and sell your work, are risk averse. That does not mean that your book has no audience, but it may not be that the agent sees an audience that is going to be profitable for them. Don't take anyone's editor, agent, publishing house, their rejection. Don't take that to heart. Do not let it derail your career as a writer. Remember, once you hit send on a submission, your control ends. You can't force a yes. You can't manifest an offer. What you can control is your craft, your professionalism, and your persistence. Embrace creative resilience. Embrace the reality of rejection if you seek to be published traditionally. And know that you have this. You are a writer. You are capable of creating worlds out of nothing. You are powerful. Rejection is an initiation, not a verdict. And every rejection puts you in the club of working writers that are seeking traditional publication or representation. Creative resilience is the ability to get knocked down, to feel the sting, and keep going. It's a muscle you build, and we need your voice. Seriously, the world needs more diverse, bold, weird, heartfelt stories, neurodiverse stories. We need you. We need your work. So don't quit. Don't shelve your passion to write because one agent or one editor or one publishing house said no. You are more than one email. So until I talk to you next time, get back to work, get back to your keyboard, keep writing, keep striving towards your writing goals. Thanks for tuning in to Writing While Distracted, where we navigate the winding roads of creativity amidst the chaos of distraction. If you've enjoyed this podcast and found it useful, please share it and tag me. DM me and let me know what other topics you'd like me to explore. Please leave a review. It really helps get the podcast in front of more folks. Remember, in the dance between focus and diversion, every stumble is a step closer to mastering the art of writing. Join us next time as we continue to unravel the mysteries of the writer's mind. Until then, keep writing, keep wandering, and embrace the distractions that fuel your creativity. Stay tuned, stay inspired.